Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Hector with the Otaku Podcast. Welcome, and welcome. I cannot believe that this is the 5th episode of the podcast, and really, this is just a true testament to y'all's support, and I really do appreciate it. You know, when I first thought about creating a podcast again, it was a last-minute type of deal. I think the itch has always been there to do a podcast again, but, you know, I just never had the willpower to actually go through with it. You know, it's been there, it's been thought of, but to actually go forth and commit to it, that's a whole different ballgame. But, you know, I have some awesome friends who help me with the setup that I have here that you see. And I also have some amazing friends who are supportive in it. You know, they were there from the beginning. So that's why we're still here, 5th episode in. But if y'all saw my story on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. And again, Snapchat is more for personal friends, so it's more personal in that regard. I've gotten some hate, man. And I've already expected to get hate, honestly. I've always expected it. Just as I've always expected low support in my content. And this has been the case for many years. You know, back then when I was doing my photography stuff, I created a photography page. You know, when I worked at weddings and anniversary parties, promotion, graduation parties, or even just like portraits. And the pictures, I must say, were pretty decent, but the following was low. When I started making reviews for movies and entertainment stuff, video games, or what have you, that was back when Roku Review was a thing. The support was low. And then when I was doing my music, that was a nightmare and a half. I mean, the music that I made was pretty decent because I had some very talented friends, and my father, who's also a very talented musician, he was also able to help as well. You know, low support. And now we're here in 2025, you know, the start of a new podcast, and that's the same case too. And in addition to that, as many of y'all know, my comic book series, Remnant, which is original, that has low support as well. Now, this is not a downer episode. This is not for y'all to feel pity for me or feel bad for me. This is just to bring things to light and to set things straight. And this podcast, everybody should hear it because this is a good life lesson. This is a good educational episode, if you will. And this will address not only the haters, but the closeted haters. And this would also address the supporters, those who have been with me from the beginning. But this will also be a good episode for those who are in the same boat as me. A content creator with low support who is doing all they can to put out some amazing content out there, but it's not appreciated. This episode is for you guys as well. Because I'm going to tell you my experience and my journey and how I was able to continue moving forward despite obstacles or stumbling blocks that came my way, or especially the discouragement that happened in between. So I think what we'll do, we'll start with the negative first, and then we'll make it positive. I feel like we have to get rid of the bad energy first, you know, just let it out, say it with my chest, and then once I get that out, you know, it's going to be okay. All right, well, let me take a drink of my whiskey real quick, and then we'll get pretty serious and pretty honest. So give me just a second, y'all. All right. So, I think the podcast in of itself doesn't get a lot of hate because a lot of people can enjoy it and they get something from it. The hate comes more from Remnant. Now, I briefly talked about Remnant and how it was made, but now I'm going to get into more in-depth detail and give you the synopsis, the full background of how Remnant was made. The idea of Remnant. You know, all the work that happened behind the closed curtains and behind closed doors to bring Remnant to life through the help of AI. AI, you probably heard that already. You're already getting triggered and you're getting annoyed like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy is not skilled or talented or he's not even a real artist because he uses AI to make his stuff. Well, we are going to bring things to light about what it really is like to use AI to help push forward the work that you're creating. So, I decided that I wanted to post some stuff on Reddit over the past couple of days just to get, some feedback. constructive criticism, or perhaps even get some encouraging comments. I got no encouraging comments. The feedback was all negative. Now, when it comes to creating content, you should never expect every single living soul to like what you put out there. That's, first of all, unrealistic, and two, that's unfair to everybody who comes across your content. But the problem is, I think people are just afraid of change and afraid of advancements. And that's something that I had to really sit down and ponder over when I was reading through negative comments or people private messaging me about, how I'm not a real artist or I don't have any originality, creativity, or anything in between. And so, although that was a bit offensive and I didn't really respond to all of the comments, just a few who were really, personally attacking me, this is why I'm saying this, to bring things to light. Remnant, as I mentioned in the last episode, he's me. He is basically my personal alter ego. And yeah, that might sound corny, that might sound a little cliche, that might sound, childish or immature. But the point of the matter is, Remnant is basically me, Hector Cordero. Now, although his character name in the series is Andrew Nunez, well, guess what? My middle name is Andrew, and my second last name is Nunez. I just don't use Nunez. And that might be the first time I said that publicly, actually, which is kind of wild. So he is my alter ego. Andrew Nunez, who is Remnant, grew up in a pretty decent household. He had two good parents, and yeah, arguments happen. There might be some physical abuse here and there or some altercations, but, you learn from it and you move forward from it. And that was the case with me. I had a very loving mother and a loving father. At one point, both were involved in alcoholism, but they both redirected over the years. They learned as they grew older. They were both young parents, and so they were able to realize that they made mistakes, how they raised me from maybe my first 12 years of life, and they were able to be better parents from 12 years old down to my adult years now. And so, my upbringing, I don't blame my parents whatsoever for my upbringing. Like, I have an amazing dad, and I had an amazing mom. And I'm not going to go into detail with that. You just put the things together regarding my use of terminology in that regard, and you can put it together regarding mom and dad there. So, Remnant, as mentioned in his backstory, he experienced a lot of abandonment. And it wasn't from his household. It was from those who said they will be there for him. Former mentors that they said will be there for him. And they all left him at the end of the day. Andrew Nunez, he was an awesome person growing up as a teenager. No care in the world. Nothing that will bother him. Like, even though he experienced some trauma based on those abandonment issues, he was able to use that to strengthen him and fortify him. His faith of being an awesome person, his faith of being a good human being, and his faith of being the change that he wants to see in the world. That is Andrew Nunez. Andrew Nunez, growing up, experienced many friends who said they will be there for him, and he's done so much for those friends. But then they left him. They lacked appreciation because of it. And so, obviously, over time, after one person does it, then the next person does it, and then the next person does it, he is hardened as a result. And so, in the story, the first episode of Remnant, he decides to leave. And it's not very specific. It just says in the comic, he walked away and, he had a resolve. He wasn't angry, but it was that resolve that pushed him to do better. In my case, as I said, because I mirrored Remnant, Andrew Nunez, in 2021, that's when I made the decision to move. Mom already passed away, dad was doing really good with his life, and so, I felt like it was time for me to leave because, those abandonment issues were getting pretty strong and it was destroying me as a person. So I moved out here to the Midwest, started a brand new life, didn't know anybody, pretty much. And it's working out, dude. Like it was a fresh restart. So from 2021 down to here, we're in July 31st, 2025. I feel like I've been the happiest ever. And that's because I started fresh again. I left all the negative energy behind. I left all the negative people behind. The people who lack loyalty and love, they're all in the past, and I don't even speak to them anymore. Of course, if they reach out to me, of course I'll talk to them, and, I'll be encouraging to them. If they need help, then I'll do all I can to help them, because that's just the type of person that I am. But it was a fresh start. So, Andrew Nunez in the comics, he decided to do social services work because he wanted to help those children and families that experience the same type of trauma he experienced, which it is hard to get over. If you ever been there, you would understand. It's hard to get over. He wants to help them. His experience was utilized to help them. Well, guess what, folks? As I mentioned, I worked in social services for many years, off and on in California, and in almost 2 solid years here in Missouri. And I was able to use my experiences of abandonment and disloyalty from other people who said they will be there for me to help these children, these young adults, and a good number of them are successful now. Now, of course, I can't take credit for everything, but, it's nice to know that I played a small role in helping them to be better people. So that being said, with Remnant, he always made that his focus, to help younger ones and to help families. And so that is pretty much me, as I said. What I was able to utilize with technology, I pretty much told AI, my past trauma and experiences. And so I was very detailed and honest about what I experienced. And so that's the character it created, was Remnant. And I said, use all of my information that I've given you, trauma, experiences, how I was able to overcome them, to create a character name, and also talk about the powers that he might possess. And Remnant was created as a result. Now, with Remnant, as I mentioned in the last episode of this podcast, Remnant is more labeled as an anti-hero vigilante. He doesn't really have allies. And if you'll notice in the later comics, he will have people helping him here and there, but they come and go. But they will be on call if he needs them, which most likely he won't need them unless, they sense there's an issue and he's too stubborn to need them. But Remnant, he does things unorthodox, meaning that it's not by the book, but he does it on a case-to-case basis. Kind of like what I did with, helping out different families in my real life, speaking of me. With social services, you're very limited on what you can do and tell people. But I've always went against that because, as I mentioned, it's a case-to-case basis. People need to learn different methods of coping. People need to learn different methods of dealing with issues. People need to learn different methods and ways to improve in their lives and be better citizens and to be better people and also to be someone that they're proud of. What's in the book doesn't always say it that way. So like as a Remnant, he takes care of issues in a way where people might look down on him. People might be in disagreement with him. And this is more of the case when it comes to crime fighting. So in the first episode, or the first issue of the series, the broker is introduced. The broker is the first, I wouldn't say villain, but I would say altercation that Remnant needs to face that will build up to the first main villain, who's Dominion, and his debut comes out in issue 5, and that's released on December 20th of this year. So, Remnant is a crime fighter. He's likened to Batman, Moon Knight, Daredevil, Punisher. The way that they deal with things, a casual audience will say, well, that's not a real hero. Look what he's doing to that person. That's Remnant in a way. Because he understands that not everybody is going to agree with him in how he deals with things. So likewise, when I was working with social services, I was real with these kids that I worked with. I was real with these teenagers that I worked with, these young adults. I told them straight up what they would experience in the real life. And I told them straight up, listen up, bud. Like, you go out there as a better person, people are still going to label you as a negative person and a bad person. But don't let that consume you, because you have to prove them wrong now. And you have all the resources and tools to do it. And that was some of the unorthodox ways that I've helped different families and children and teenagers and young adults to be successful. And as a result of that, they still talk to me to this day and tell me how much I've helped them and how much, they're doing good in life. And it's very encouraging to hear that. So Remnant is an original creation. He has hints of Moon Knight, as you can see by his costume, but he also has hints of Daredevil as well, based on his costume. It's a mix of those two, basically. The tactics of fighting is more of Daredevil's tactics. And then the powers that Moon Knight possesses, Remnant possesses in a way. Now, when it comes to Remnant's powers, he feeds off negative energy. He feeds off the pain that you might possess, the trauma that you might possess, abandonment, everything in between. He's able to sense that and absorb it and use it against you if you're an enemy. But obviously, he's not going to kill you if, you change your ways and you do better and you find a resolve to do better. But there are some in the comics, as I mentioned before, they're not going to change. And because of that, he needs to do what he has to do, if you know what I mean. In addition to that, when it comes to designing Remnant, I was very detailed about how I wanted Remnant to look. And so I, thought about different blueprint ideas. I thought about different notes that I can put together and things like that to create Remnant. I'm not an artist whatsoever, and I would admit that. As far as, sitting down, getting paper, stencils, pencils, crayons, markers, whatever, and drawing up something that is amazing. I'm not that type of artist. What I do have is a creative mind. And that creative mind is only utilized based on my own personal experiences. Because I know it works, I know it's real, and I know it's also relatable. So Remnant, everything about Remnant is me. My own ideas and my own creations. And I was pretty much honest and open about saying that I used ChatGPT to help create my work. And that is only to fine-tune things, and that is only to smooth out rough surfaces. That is only to fill in the blanks. Remnant is my own creation, and that's a fact. When I first saw Remnant design based on the information that I gave ChatGPT, which was very, very direct and specific. I mean, down to the specific lining of his costume. I thought, well, this is the way to go. But people will discredit artists who use AI because they think it's not real. Now, I'm going to be the first to say that I understand what you're saying if you're thinking that. Because, with AI, there has to be a balance for everything. AI is good in some respects, but AI can be very negative in a lot of respects as well. AI is useful if you use it for the good, and I use it for my creativity. Things that I personally cannot do on my own, AI is able to utilize my lack of experience and my lack of knowledge in certain respects to fill in those blanks. Remnant is made by AI to an extent, but that's only with my specific direction. And I've said that very specifically last time. And people seem to still have a hard time understanding it. And then I try to sit down and think, but why is so-and-so struggling to realize that? Well, technology is, throwing a lot of people out of the business and industry as far as entertainment or creation goes. And so they take offense to that. They take offense that the use of artificial intelligence to create content, to create art, is a cheap way of getting things done. But people who don't use AI don't understand that AI cannot create things out of something very simple. AI only works if you're very specific in how you get things done. So, I wish I could show you guys, man, I wish I could put like a compilation together of how much work went into creating just that one issue, that first issue, and how much work was done up until yesterday to create the second issue that releases on August 9th. Trial and error after trial and error. A lot of effort was made to make sure things were done right. Designs, scripts that I put in there that I wrote myself, certain spots where I wanted certain things at, cues, moments, dramatic effects, something that will create a great comic. That is all me and my ideas. AI only just simply fill in the blanks and put it together. Now granted, there are some quote-unquote artists where they use AI for absolutely everything. And that is something that I'm against personally. Because that means there's no creativity. You can simply tell ChatGPT, okay, create a masked hero who is kind of like Moon Knight and has fighting tactics like Daredevil, and see how he comes out. And he might come out something great. But is that your own original character? No. How Remnant was made, as I said, I told ChatGPT Remnant's background, which was basically my background, all the stuff that he experienced, which is what I experienced, all the trauma, the hate, the rage, the resentment, the pain that he carried. Remnant carries the same thing. And so I said, create a character that resembles all that I told you, but use these particular designs to finish up the work. And that's how Remnant was created. You know, when I've posted my first issue on Reddit, I've had a lot of hate. And that part didn't bother me much. But there were some people that kind of went above and beyond to make sure that their hate was made known and their disagreement and things like that was made known. And it didn't bother me too much. It was more irritating, if anything. And so it got me upset, and I ended up deleting the issue from Reddit because there was two people in particular that just would not stop going. And I even reported it to the subreddit moderators, and they didn't even help me. They just said, well, you probably shouldn't be posting that anyways. I'm like, well, I expected that answer, but it still kind of hurts to hear that, you know? It just shows that Reddit is a very toxic place. And that's fine. It is what it is. So I deleted my stuff off Reddit, and then I get some comments today, this is speaking now of July 31st, about my use of AI. And this was on my first issue, which has been out for, I don't even know, like a couple of days now, so you're a little late to the party, bucko. But they expressed some disagreement and some hate on my post. And I commented, and that was that. But then I started receiving private messages from other people who were part of the following. So here's the thing with my Otaku Podcast on Instagram. It's joint with my personal account on Instagram. So whatever's posted on Otaku, my followers on my personal account will see it because it's a collaboration between the two accounts. And so, you know, I got in some more comments that were disagreeing with me and messages like that. And I think that was after they saw that initial comment. And so I call those people closeted haters, closeted judgers, cowards. And I feel very strongly about that because you guys do not support me. You haven't supported me when I first started making any of this. And this was even when I was in California. You didn't support me with, you know, the photography, the reviews, the music, things like that. And of course, like I said, you're not supporting me now. But what gives you the right to now spread your discontentment of my stuff, disagreement of stuff, judging of stuff? Just don't follow me at this point. There's no point of you following me. If you're just going to sit there and view my stuff and not say anything, but you're judging in your head of my stuff, don't follow me. If you're going to say that you're going to support me, and you don't, and you do the exact opposite behind my back, And what goes around comes around, by the way. Just block me and delete me. I hate the fact that many of y'all want to share stuff from other people or, creators, things like that. But people that you personally know don't do it. Like, that's kind of discouraging. And it's not everybody. Like I said before, and I'm very strong about this. Like, I don't care if none of my personal followers support my stuff. It's the thing when you talk behind my back and then another person tells me what you said. And I know who's been talking. I know exactly who's been talking. I can call you out right now if I want to, but that's not the place for this, the time or place. And I'm in a good mood, by the way, with the whiskey, so I'm not trying to bring out more drama. It's discouraging. And so you guys have to learn that respect goes both ways. And for the most part, support should also go both ways. Don't share me your stuff that you want me to like or, share or repost if you're not going to do it yourself for my stuff. And I really don't share my stuff to people like on a DM, like, oh, hey, go like this or hey, go like that. I put it on my story and it's up to you to do whatever you want with it. My nose is itching a lot. Holy crap. Anyways, it's discouraging, man. It really is. But at the end of the day, I have to remind myself that this stuff that I put out there is not for you. This stuff is just for regular people. And so that's what Remnant comes back into play. Remnant relates to a lot of people, or I should say a lot of people relate to Remnant. The pain, the loss, the grief, the abandonment, people not being loyal to you, friends who said they'll be your best friend to the end, but they end up leaving you. A lot of us have experienced that. And that's Remnant. And that's what moves him to help other people. He's relatable. A lot of these characters that I will be coming out with after Remnant will be relatable to a lot of people. It's real. This series is going to be raw, authentic, maybe even dark at times. But that's just the real world that we live in. And so it kind of hurts a bit when people say that I'm not a real creator because I use AI to an extent, but you have to understand there's a lot that goes into making just one page from a comic strip, which is only 3 panels usually, 2 to 3 panels per page. And I'm going to be blunt with y'all. It takes about 40 tries on average to get it the way that I want. Because I'm very detailed, I'm very specific, and I'm very picky about how I want things coming out. It's difficult, but it's so worth it when it gets it right. So yeah, AI, for the most part, is good until people abuse it. And I'm not abusing it. I'm using it to support my work, but it's also supposed to show that this is original stuff that I'm coming out with. And if you disagree with that, then maybe you have to check yourself and understand some humility and realize that, this is where we're at now. We're in 2025 and 5 more months? We'll be in 4 months now. I mean, it's almost August. We'll be in 2026. This is the way, like Mando said. But yeah, I hope that this 30 minutes of me just going off on some of y'all will put things into perspective. And I said that I was going to start with a hard hitter, but I want to end it in a positive note. So this positive note is for you guys out there who are struggling to get by. And this is as far as being encouraged to keep making content. You might be discouraged because you don't have a lot of support, even though many people may have told you that they'll support you and they'll be there for you and they'll share your stuff or like your stuff or, help you out in whatever they can and they don't. This is for you. Do not give up. Keep making content. Don't let the haters stop you. Don't let those who say they will support you and don't stop you. This content that you produce out there is not for them. This is for people like you and me who understand why you make certain content. This is for people who can relate to your content. This is for people who understand you and where you're coming from. And they want to help you because they understand you. They've been there. I've been there. I'm there now. I wish at least a quarter of my followers will like my stuff on Instagram or TikTok, but they don't. I get more likes and stuff from people who are not following me, who see me on their feeds. And that's kind of sad if you think about it. But it's okay. Because again, the content is for them. Continue having fun in what you create. Do not give up. Continue being authentic and real to yourself. Because people like me, who has been there in your position, can appreciate that. And those content creators who may have not posted anything in a long time, but they'll still scroll through TikTok because they still want to go through that TikTok void. If you know what I mean, scrolling for freaking 5 hours, even though you should have been in bed for like 3 hours prior. Like, maybe that one post can inspire them to create something great. It's difficult to have low support. It's difficult to see how half of your followers will repost stuff from other people that they follow, but they don't do it for you. It's difficult to see how there's certain pages on TikTok or Instagram or any type of social media platform where they post something so ridiculous, but they somehow get so much support. But yet you who post wholesome content or content that a lot of people can relate to and appreciate don't get a lot. It's hard. But listen, I've always said this to people on TikTok, especially people who post, dark posts about their emotions, or they're just being very raw about their emotions. I've always said this to people. Continue being yourself. Don't change for anybody. Keep being raw and authentic. And then that one person will appreciate you. But then it becomes 2, 3, 4, and the number keeps going up and up as time goes on. Because they would detect it, that you're real and authentic. And there's nothing about you that's fake as a result. They love you for who you are. And they understand your content. And honestly, that's why I haven't stopped yet. I could have stopped a long time ago. I mean, after that first episode, I could have stopped. After the first issue that I put out, I could have stopped. But again, it's not for everybody. Like, I hope that my podcast or my content as far as my issues go out, speaking of comic book issues, not life issues, I have a lot of that. But if that one person reads it or they hear and they really are motivated to do something with their lives, honestly, that's awesome. And I accomplished what I needed to accomplish. Just keep being yourself. Do not give up. Keep working hard. Put in the work. But have fun doing it. Do not let your content crowd your life out. Meaning that it should not be priority. Your friends, even if you have a few friends, your family, and things that you work on for yourself to be a better person should always come first. And then your content will always be the next priority. Have a balance in things. And also be open to new ideas. Be open for change. Be open to adapt. Continue working hard. Don't give up. Please don't give up. Keep working hard. And don't give up. I never expected this podcast to get a little emotional because I'm not going to lie, it did hurt seeing the hateful comments. And yeah, I always put up a front and say it doesn't bother me, but, you can say that yourself too, but some of it does bother you to an extent. But I use it as motivation, and you can as well. So all you followers out here who have, 50, 60, a couple hundred followers, keep working hard. And let's support each other. I follow some of you now on TikTok because I've seen some of your emotional posts and I left comments on there to encourage you, and I hope it was helpful if you're looking at this or hearing this. We all need each other to support one another. And so with the content creation, us content creators who have low followings, we have to support one another. Look out for the fellow little guys, right? And so if we continue to do that, we build a foundation as a result. And then we can be proud of collective collaborations, all the work that we put in between, and conversations that we have with one another, giving each other different ideas. Like, it's going to be awesome, man. Like, don't give up. Keep pushing forward and be yourself. And honestly, that's all we can do in this day and age, because real recognizes real. Don't be that one person that always forces people to support you, but you don't support back, because it's not going to work in the end. And I know some people like that. There were some content creators that I followed that, they followed me first, so I followed them because we were all in the same, boat. And they may have picked off a little more than I did over time. And then I get freaking unfollowed and blocked or whatever. I'm like, really? Don't be that person. Always show support who shows support for you. And it always works out in the end. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I want to talk about, man. The full breakdown of Remnant, I don't even remember what I said for the past 36 minutes, honestly. But I hope this was real and you guys understood where I'm coming from. This is something that is near and dear to me. I love creating stuff, and I love entertaining people. If I can take away, your life issues for just 1 second or 2 seconds, or, the past 40 minutes, that this podcast will take up, like, I've done my job. So yeah, man. Don't be negative to people. Be positive. Be encouraging. You don't know what that person's going through. Just be encouraging and be an awesome person. And like I said, be real and authentic. But yeah, you guys got the full breakdown of Remnant. A more detailed and personal breakdown of Remnant. But it just proves that Remnant is an original creation by me, with the help of Chat GPT, but it's mostly me working behind the scenes. For you lower numbers as far as the content creator goes, those who have the lower numbers, hold on, let me take my last drink. Don't give up. Keep working hard. Do what's right. Don't shortcut your way through things. Put in the work, and people will appreciate it. But thank you all again for listening to the podcast. I hope this brought some clarity to some of y'all. I hope this was encouraging to you listeners, both who want to hate me behind the scenes, but those who are supporting me even behind the scenes, and those who publicly show their support to me, for everyone to see. I hope this was also encouraging to you, people who are struggling. People who are struggling to get by, people who are struggling to stay motivated, to stay encouraged, to stay creative. Do not give up. Keep putting stuff out there for others to enjoy. Once again, keep it real and authentic, and people will be drawn to it. But if you guys, can follow me, please do so. If you guys are on TikTok watching this clip, and I'm going to post a clip of this specific, moment here, follow me. Because us people who have low support can support one another. And we can share each other's stuff where, maybe some of my followers would appreciate your stuff more than my stuff. But then some of your followers would appreciate my stuff over yours. But at the same time, we're still engaging and supporting one another regardless of which follower supports who. The numbers are still going up for both of us. Let's keep supporting one another. So, if you view my page, please follow me. Message me. Hit me up. If you're going through an issue in life, and this is on a personal level now, hit me up, because I'm always ready to talk to people and encouraging them. I love it. It brings me joy and peace when I can help people. If you're viewing my profile now from a post that you saw on your feed, hit that follow button, hit the like button, because maybe, just maybe, we can continue supporting one another. And that's all I got to say about that. We're at the 40-minute mark now, so guys, thank you again for joining me in the Otaku Podcast. My name is Hector. Hope you have a good rest of your evening.